Alright guys, we are now on bag number 3, part 2 of the B74 build. Go ahead and move the chassis out of the way. We're going to build the, looks like the front and rear differential. I am going to say, I may not do it 100% like the way you've seen it before or anything like that. After time, everyone sort of develops their own way of building things. This is just how I build them, so you guys can have a little bit of reference. There may be a better way, I may forget something, but just a little disclaimer for you there. This is just how I do it, how I've been doing it, and it's been working pretty good so far. That being said, this is the first time I've built these diffs. These are brand new diffs for the 74, so bear with me. Show you guys how I do it. This is where that, I believe that addendum is. I'm gonna check that out too. Bag 3, page 7, saying to weigh the diffs and stuff. Looks like they just revised the weight that is supposed to be when you weigh them for the fluid. I personally, I don't weigh them. It probably is, or definitely is a more accurate method. I just usually fill it up with oil to cover the cross pins. That's how I've been doing it for years. That's what I'm gonna keep doing. But weighing it, if you have a scale handy, definitely more accurate. I would recommend that. I just don't have a scale small enough for these. So we're just gonna fill it up the way I usually do. Lots of little washers here. Careful not to lose them. This is where those pliers come in handy. Definitely be using these when we build the diff. Gaskets. Got screws. These look like 1.5 screws, or 1.5 head to driver, 2.5 millimeter thread. Pins. We got all our planetary gears. Line them up. I find it easy to organize the parts before I start building. Seems to make it go a little smoother. Not searching around for parts. Looks like this kit has comes with aluminum cross pins, which is nice. That was I believe it was an upgrade on the last car. It was all steel. So these are brand new diffs for this car. So this is the first time I'm building these as well. Looks like their oil here. Pop that open. Ooh, throwing things. There is shock oil in here as well. These two are shock oil. Looks like they give you 10K for the diff out of the box. Just need to get some black grease by the looks of it. All right, back, grab some grease. This is actually TLR Great Grease. It calls for regular black grease. I've been using this stuff on everything. Seems to work pretty good. It seems to be a little stickier. Whether it's better or not, I suppose it's still up for debate, but we're gonna use it today. So we got the first step, putting the outdrive in the diff. I'm gonna build them at the same time, so they go together the same way. We got O-ring goes in the top, ×2. And put a little grease on the outdrive here. And grease just helps the outdrive from wearing out the O-ring. I like to twist it when I put it in, help get some of the grease on that O-ring. Wipe off any extra there. Same for the other one. Work the grease in. And we got one of the large washers. Go on there. On the inside. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so we got our two diffs with the washers and the O-ring. We're calling for the pin and the main sun gear, satellite gear. They're calling it a sun gear. This is where those pliers come in handy. So you have to reach in and put the pin in the outdrive. This is probably the trickiest part. Some diffs are easier than others. Just gotta work it in there. Center it up, like so, if you guys can see that. And then these have the notch in the back of them. Kind of usually just drop those in and set my finger on top of it and give that a twist. And you'll feel it just kind of pop in. Probably heard that. And then that gear is sitting on there. And then again, ×2, because we're building the front and rear at the same time. Like so. So we got 2 diffs, sun gears in both. Now it's telling us to build the smaller planet gears. So they slide on. At this point, don't worry about lining them up on the shaft, just push them together like so. Then each one has a little washer. Like that. I'm gonna build all of these together here. Just a little shout out to all the guys who bought B74s from the shop. Much appreciated if you're tuning in and watching. Looks to be a pretty nice car so far. The B64 did quite well. This one's looking like they made some pretty good improvements. Throw some comments down if you guys are building one or racing one here. Always like talking to you guys. Alright, so we got all 4 of those built. And we got to put them in the differential. So hopefully you guys can see this, but there's grooves in the diff cup here, and there's cutouts in these crossbars so they fit together. So the first one, doesn't matter, just slide it in, each one. But I put that cutout facing up because the other one's gonna fit on right on top of it. So spin it around so the 2 notches fit together. Kind of like Lincoln logs. You see that? Again, ×2 because we're building 2 of these. Oop. A little top heavy at the moment, but I did lose a washer inside this guy. So again, with the pliers, good pair of needle nose definitely helps with these cars. I'm building it on this foam mat, so they don't want to stand up straight. It's okay. Pit mats are good. I got the J Concepts one here, pit mat. Shout out to J Concepts there. This can be a little tricky here. There we go. Line these up like so. Make sure it's all function. Shouldn't bind up or anything. These feel pretty tight too. Shouldn't be too much play. Keep the grease out because we're gonna have to put the other side in. Alright, so it's having us fill it up with 10K. Even in the book it says fill it just above the cross pin. You guys can see that. It looks like these diff cases are a little taller, a little more high capacity than normal. So we're gonna fill it, like it says, a little bit above the cross pins. Be just below the planetary gears. I like to kind of, put it in there, spread it around a little bit so it gets all over, not just in the middle. This also acts as like a lubricant. Don't go crazy filling it. You gotta let it settle to the bottom. let that settle out while I get the next step lined up, which looks like the main ring gear. I don't see that one in that bag. So while that's settling out, we're gonna go ahead and open up this one to see what I need in here. This is the one that came on that yellow sheet, so there's no number on it. We'll open the rest of that up later. Set this aside. I don't need this stuff quite yet. So these are your ring and pinion gears. Appear to be the same ratio. Is good, normal. Your ring and pinions. A couple little washers there, don't lose those. So if you can see, it's kind of hard to see probably, but our oil has settled mostly to the bottom and it's not even covering the pins at all. So we're gonna have to put some more in here. I said don't do it all at one shot because you either probably gonna put too much oil in it. It's easier to put oil in than take it out, that's for sure. We're gonna dump that in there, let that settle, see where that brings us. While those are sitting, I'm gonna move on to the next part, which is basically the same what we did with the diffs there, but we're putting them in the ring gears now. So we're gonna bring back the grease, put a little bit on the out drive. O-ring goes in. O-ring. Should just grease them both up, do them at the same time. Be too scared with the grease. You don't have to go crazy, but some of it's gonna squeeze you off when it goes through the O-ring. And then again, spin it a little when I put it in. Like so. All right, so now we have to put the little silver washer on. That. So now we got this with the silver washer with our out drive on it. We put our little pin in. And just holds it all together. And my trusty pliers again. Alright, so we got the pin with the washer in. Everything should spin free, should be smooth, shouldn't bind. Okay, then we're gonna check the oil on these again. Looks like it's settled pretty low. We're gonna top these off probably one more time. Alright. Again, it's calling just above the cross pins. Looks pretty good right there. It's like settled out a couple times, so make sure you don't just dump the oil in and slap together. Make sure it settles out because you may not have put enough oil in there, so just be patient with it. It's also where the weighing comes in handy because then you can just dump it right in as long as it's the right weight. It should be fine. All right, so we got sun gears that go on here. They just fall right on, nice and easy, nothing binding. And these screws are a 1.5 driver. Let's see, we check our addendum here. Make sure we miss nothing. It's just talking about the weight. All right. We do have these two little washers though, I'm not seeing them. All right, so the washers, these little guys look like they're gonna be used in step 4 to shim the dog bone. So those can be set aside for now. Don't lose them. Use those later on. So we're gonna go ahead and button up these diffs. The oil settled out nicely. So we got the gasket. Put one aside here. line up the gasket. I try to put it on this end. This is the part where things can get a little tricky. Basically, you have to mate these two halves, line up the gasket and line up the ring gear. This can take a couple tries, don't feel bad. It might take me a try or two, but try to do it. I try to do it at the same time so I don't lose oil and I don't lose the O-ring, so. Looks good. Looks like we're a little off. I use the 1.5 to try to line up the holes in the case. It went off a little bit here. There we go. So just kind of spin it around till you get the holes in the case and the gasket to line up. And then when we're putting these screws in, it's just fresh plastic, so you're gonna have to throw a little pressure on them. Don't tighten these all down yet until they're all in there, just so it holds it together. And I do them in opposites. I don't like bolting the car tire on. If your screw's not going in for some reason, then you may not be lined up with the proper hole there. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and kind of star pattern and give these guys the final tight. Just helps it so the ring gear sits more even on there. And give it a spin. Should feel some resistance, but should be smooth. This one feels pretty good, looks good, no oil spilled out. Got some grease on it, looks good. So we're gonna go ahead and do it with the second one. Careful not to break the gaskets or anything. Line up. I've nailed that one the first try. I like to throw the screw on the tip of the driver. Makes it a little easier than trying to put it in with your finger. Oh, in the process we lost our whole line up there a little bit. See that? Everybody fights with these a little bit. Okay. All right. See, this one don't want to go in. Just wiggle it till you get it to line up properly. And you'll feel it seat. Like so. There we have it. 2 completed diffs, front and rear. Feels nice and smooth. Look pretty good. Now we're gonna move on to the next step, which is bag number 4. Probably do bag number 4 is gonna be in the next part.